So I was doing my my usual toy hunting this week. Well, okay, I was going to Target, but I went down the toy aisle, and I realized, where are all the Fantastic Four toys? Hey everyone, welcome back to the Spector Creative channel. Scott Tou Guru Neitlich, your host here, and a pleasure to have you joining us today. It's always wonderful when you share some of your time with us, and I talk about the toy industry a lot, the ins and outs, the ups and downs, but not backwards through time. Wish we could do that, though. And looking back at time, every time we have had a major superhero movie and a Fantastic Four movie, to be even more specific, well, it's accompanied by a toy line. Okay, well, not the Trank movie, that didn't have anything, but the previous ones did. The original ones with Human Torch played by Christopher Evans and all that jazz. There were lots of toys. There was Hulk hands, well, Thing hands. There was action figures. There were collector figures. There were 12-inch figures with features. There were vehicles. What would be called a planogram, right? That's how toys are shipped to retail. Is you can't just ship like one item. You have to have a set, like 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet. Like this is actually a planogram I saw recently at Walmart. This is their Star Wars planogram, but look at that beautiful planogram. That is just, ooh, gorgeous. Everything fits perfectly, no holes. You got the inexpensive items at the top, the medium, the high-priced items on the bottom. Ooh, beautiful planogram. So yeah, that's what you need, and there is nothing to fill a Fantastic Four planogram. And why is that weird? Well, I mean, look around. It's like there's 3 giant toy movies, right? In the toy industry, blockbuster movies and tentpole movies are also talked about in terms of which ones are the toy movies, because sometimes a movie can be a blockbuster film, like Hunger Games, perfect example. Very little toys. They had a couple, NECA figures, and that was it. Versus what's out right now, you've got Superman from Warner, you've got Universal's new Jurassic World Rebirth, and you've got Fantastic Four from Disney, Marvel. And in almost any other summer, I can imagine, both as a toy buyer and working on these products, you'd have a huge, robust line for your summer blockbuster movie. Like at Target, there are 2 feature end caps right now. One is for Jurassic World, one is for Superman. Now, obviously, yes, that's a whole thing where there's a lot of competition to get feature end caps, and whoever gets them, it's like a really big deal. And obviously, not every movie can get one, but you would expect if there's a 3rd or 4th big, toy movie, right? Well, you would expect, at least in the aisle, there would be plenty of stuff. Or online where there's no such thing as planograms. But even, you go on Amazon, you type in Fantastic Four First Steps toys, and you get, the Hasbro Marvel Legends. You get some Funko Pops. You get this Herbie backpack. I mean, there's one Lego set, the Galactus set. That's it. There's no other product. There's no product. There's no kids toy line. And that is really interesting for a lot of reasons. So, like I said, there's not many movies come out that are considered toy movies. A movie can be a blockbuster, but it still can't be a toy. Jurassic Park, obviously, kids love, saber-toothed tigers and dinosaurs. I know, this is a Marvel Legends figure, but pretend it's a dinosaur. Oh, here we go. Here's a dinosaur. It's a Schleich dinosaur. Roar! Yeah, kids love dinosaurs. Of course, it's toyetic. And Superman, Superman is not toyetic. He's one of those problem superheroes. I worked on the Superman Returns line, the first remake, the one where they used Marlon Brando's CGI ghost. And he's a really tough superhero to make toys for because his powers aren't visual, but he's still very aspirational. So he sells, even though he's a tough nut to crack. Plus, there's other heroes. You got Guy Gardner and Mr. Terrific and Metamorpho and Element Man, all that jazz, Crypto. So yeah, there's a lot of toyetic elements. The dog makes it very toyetic. And then we have Fantastic Four, which you've got a guy made of rocks. You got a stretchy dude. You got a guy who sets himself on fire and flies around. Very toyetic elements. I mean, I think of almost all superheroes, Fantastic Four, some of the most toyish, if you will, because their features are very easy to replicate. They're like Superman's, if you will, aren't. How do you replicate? I mean, he could punch, you could fly him around. There's been different attempts to give him laser eyes, like with like snap-on things or light-up eyes. But yeah, his powers aren't very visual. Versus the Fantastic Four all have visual powers. Kids love being giant smashing monsters. Look at how huge Hulk hands were. When there's actually a Hulk movie. And, look at all the cool Fantastic Four Reed Richards figures that have been done over the years with all sorts of, stretchy things and accordion body. I mean, all sorts of crazy, crazy cool stuff. And, again, Invisible Woman, clear stuff. Kids love clear accessories. And, I mean, there's all sorts of cool things you can do with, like, half painted, half clear stuff. And, yeah, Johnny Storm, I mean, throws fire. Like, again, very toyetic. So the fact that there are no toys, let's talk about that. Obviously, a big part of it is that Marvel has not been performing well. The past few years, especially in the toy aisle, we've seen things like Eternals and Black Panther 2, just the toys piling up at Ollie's. I mean, go watch a World-Class Bullshitters video, and you'll see, yeah, it's all over. They do a great job covering that. And, we had a partial line for Captain America. We did get 3 Marvel Legends, but more importantly, we had a kid line. There was plush, there was role play, there was oversized, there were feature figures. That's kid stuff. And then Thunderbolts comes along, and we get nothing at retail. We get a couple online 2-packs of Marvel Legends, but you would assume that the big summer blockbuster is going to drop toys. Nothing. I mean, this is a huge deal in the toy industry. The fact that Marvel Disney's giant summer superhero movie does not have a toy line means that, yeah, there was little confidence somewhere, whether it was from the retailers, from Disney, from the toy makers. Obviously, all of that stuff at Ollie's, this is the result. Honestly, it is shocking that there's no Fantastic Four toys. I mean, you almost don't even realize it because, we've got our Marvel Legends, so we're fine. You don't realize there's no feature toys. There's no feature figures out there for kids. No oversized, no role play. It's weird. But this is the consequence of what's happened. We all know what's happened with the Disney Marvel movies and Star Wars movies, even to an extent, the Star Wars content. There's so much content coming out, and, not all of it has been amazing. And we've seen what happens at the toy aisles and at Ollie's. The stuff piles up, and you can only do that so many times. It's like the way there was barely a toy line for Episode 9. It was the only Star Wars movie of the 9, episode movies. I mean, I guess Han Solo sort of counts, and there's a Grogu movie coming out. But, of the 9 episodes, it's the only one that didn't have a toy line. Like, there was no 3 3/4 figures. There were a couple of vintage collection figures, and they had some 5-inch, like, animated-looking figures, but that was it. So, yeah, this is the same kind of thing we're seeing. It's like after, episodes 7 and 8 didn't deliver, and now after Eternals and Black Panther 2 and, Thunderbolts and Captain America and the Marvels. Actually, the Marvels didn't have a toy line either, but that's understandable because it's really hard to sell a female-centered line in a boys' aisle. Wonder Woman has tried it. They tried it with Miss Marvel, the first movie. But this is an all gender, all age team. Fantastic Four. There's boys, there's girls. There's a flying silver girl. There's 2 girls. So it's crazy. It really shows consequences, and we should take a note of this. All right. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in and spending some time with us today. And if you have any other questions or clarification, let me know in the comments. I can always do a follow-up. Love talking about this kind of stuff, and I will see you guys in the next video.